Good men freely because of the nature of who they are. They are thoughtful, caring, hardworking, responsible by nature. Doesn't mean they don't have issues or problems or things that come up, but the nature of who they are is to give freely in the relationship all the healthy parts of a relationship: respect, appreciation, love, fun, because that's the natural makeup of who they are. Hello, I'm Karen Seitz, and this is the Happy Wife School. This podcast is for married women to realize that we are responsible for our happiness, that no one and no thing can make us happy, and that our husbands are not the source of our unhappiness. In each episode, I red pill married women to know that we are the problem in our marriages to good men. For the good men, this podcast will wake you up to the realities of your wife's woman ways, to take back the power you've unknowingly given away to her emasculation in a constructive, caring way. Before we dive into today's episode, a couple reminders. My message is meant for common and usual marital issues. My podcast is not intended for abusive, violent, or compulsive behaviors in a marriage that are threatening or dangerous. Also, please take a second to visit my website and learn more about my courses, which offer solutions for married women and good men. You can find the link in the description below. With all that being said, let's get started. And we're just going to go ahead and jump right into our topic today of how to make your wife happy. 3 facts men need to know. Ladies, I'm speaking directly to the men today, but I hope that you pay attention, because the purpose of this and why I call my channel The Red Pill for Women is for you to be able to wake up to the truth of your woman ways and how you are the problem in your marriage and how you are the problem in your relationships with men. This is really a follow-up, just giving a little setup before I get into the 3 facts men need to know about how to make your wife happy, is that this is a follow-up for my show where I talked about marriage counseling and why marriage counseling does not work. And I talked a little bit in that episode about the codependency that our culture reinforces and that couples counseling reinforces, that each partner or each spouse in a marriage is responsible for making the other feel loved, good, happy, content, heard, validated, understood, accepted, and that that's actually where all of our relationship problems stem from. Because if we are dependent on another person to be that for us, and we don't have that within ourselves and do not provide that to ourselves, that is a codependency model. And we have like popular books like The 5 Love Languages, that also books like that reinforce a codependency, that our partner is supposed to speak our love language and do the things to make us feel good in the relationship. But for the dynamics between good men and women, it never works. And that's really what we're going to dive deep into today, of why that doesn't work with a woman, and that it's really, really important for both men and women to understand that the only person you have any control over to change is yourself, which means even though you are in a partnership, you have no control over how the other person feels or experiences themselves, whether they are fulfilled, content, or have meaning and purpose, and they have no control over you to feel those things. That those are things that we have to provide ourselves, that we're responsible for our own fulfillment, our own sense of being content in ourselves and in our lives. And if we need someone else to give us those things to make us feel understood, heard, accepted, validated, it means we're not giving that to ourselves. And that's why we want someone else to give it to us. What's counterintuitive and what I experienced in my marriage and my relationship with my husband is that it was only when I learned to be happy, to have a healthy relationship with myself, to provide the things to me that I always wanted another, specifically a man and my husband, to provide to me. It was only when I found that within myself that, one, I could be a true partner, and that I could see and appreciate all the amazing ways that my husband showed up for me in his thoughtfulness, his caring ways, his generosity, his love. As a woman, I couldn't experience any of those things from him. All I could see in my husband were the very ways in which I felt bad about myself, that I did not care for myself, did not feel good about myself or in me and who I was. So all I could see were the things that I thought my husband was doing wrong to make me have the insecurities and doubts and negative feelings that I had within myself and in the relationship. So when I became happy, that's when my husband and I began to have a true dance and a true partnership and be able to care for each other and give the healthy parts of a relationship of being thoughtful and loving and showing affection and appreciation. And I had to go first because here is the fascinating difference between women and good men. Good men freely, because of the nature of who they are thoughtful, caring, hardworking, responsible by nature. Doesn't mean they don't have issues or problems or things that come up, but the nature of who they are is to give freely in the relationship all the healthy parts of a relationship: respect, appreciation, love, fun, because that's the natural makeup of who they are. And as women, because of our unhappiness in ourselves, because of the poor relationship we have with ourselves, we are selfish, we're emotionally disconnected, we live in an internal emotional storm and chaos of being worried, fearful, insecure, doubting, not able to make a choice, second guessing. That's our internal state we live in, which makes us very self-centered in the relationship. We do not give freely. And when we say we do as women and we lay out the laundry list of the things we say we do for our husband in the marriage, it comes from a manipulative place with ulterior motives, because we're trying to get that emptiness in us filled from our husband. We don't give freely. And we can know that because of the Rolodex we keep of the wrongs we feel our husband has done against us. When we show up and do all these things for them, we keep a scorecard. And that's how we can know we don't give freely. When you experience your husband withdrawing from the relationship and you perceive him as shut down, ignoring you, not engaged in the relationship, it is a result of how we have pushed them away with our walls and how we have blamed them for our unhappiness. Eventually, a good man pulls away and withdraws, because that's the effect of our constant emasculation of them, making them wrong and bad for who they are and blaming them for our unhappiness. Now that I've told you all of that and that perspective on relationships and happiness and our responsibility to fulfill ourselves in the relationship and then be a good partner, is let me tell you how to make your wife happy. And of course, you guys know me too well by now to know we're going somewhere different. I'm not going to tell you how to make your wife happy, because the first fact that you need to know is that you cannot make your wife happy. It is really, really, really important for men to understand. You cannot make your wife happy. If your wife is not happy in herself, which is synonymous with emotional stability, with feeling good about who she is, being secure in herself, independent of you and her external world. If she is not happy in herself, there is nothing you can do that will make her happy, either in herself or in the marriage or relationship. And what you can know based on what I talked about in setting this up in the introduction is that if she's asking you to do the things to make her feel understood, to make her feel appreciated, to make her feel validated, wanted, desired, two things. One, it means she's codependent if she's asking those things of you, that she doesn't know how to find those things within herself. And number two, it means she doesn't have it in herself to begin with. And if she doesn't have it in herself to begin with, there's nothing you can do for her to experience that and have that within herself in a permanent way. It's like, as women, we are an empty bucket with holes. And so nothing you do sticks. Nothing you do permanently fills the bucket, because she doesn't know those things herself. She's not that for herself. What's ironic is when you ask a good man what he wants to do in the marriage or relationship, and I hear this all the time in the men I speak with and the men who come through my course, is they just want to make their wife happy. Even the men who work with me and come through my course that have listened to my videos, resonate with what I'm teaching, they still come into my course to learn to take their power back, to build their strength and confidence as a man again that's been stripped away from them in the marriage by their wife. And most of them are still coming from a place of, I'm doing this because I want to try to be a good husband and make my wife happy. You have to learn that you can't. But that's what a good man wants to do, which to me, and what I see and understand, is that a good man's desire to make his wife happy and try to do the things to make her happy shows his natural state and ability to be happy in himself. That a man is generally, in how I define happiness, emotional stability, being in life to grow and learn, becoming and evolving into the best version of yourself so that you do feel fulfilled and content, being able to problem solve and have a healthy outlook on the challenges and adversity of life. That's a good man's nature, which is why he knows that he wants to make his wife happy. And if she was happy, everything would be good. But as women, we are fundamentally unhappy. We're fundamentally wired of being insecure in ourselves and looking to our external world to show us who we are and to provide those things to ourselves that we're not willing to do for ourselves. And for the women listening who say, my husband's not happy, or even the men listening saying, I'm not happy. Here's my perspective. So when women see their husband as just depressed, withdrawn, no zest for life, or a shell of himself, or angry, and that's what a woman is seeing in her husband, ladies, we need to know that's the effect in the marriage of our walls, our selfishness, how we withhold from our husbands, how we disengage from sex, and our emasculation of them, making them bad and wrong for who they are. In my belief and understanding and what I've seen and in my experience, when good men are depressed, when they're depleted in life, or they're withdrawn or emotionally unavailable or emotionally shut down, that's not the nature of who they are. It's an effect of the emasculation of how they are made to be bad and wrong and doubting who they are. And it happens in his marriage. And I think the reason that we see the levels of depression in men in our culture, the high levels of suicide rate, is a result of men being emasculated, either by their wives, their mothers, and then culturally. It's everywhere. Culturally, men are constantly belittled. They're constantly made fun of, dismissed, and made wrong for who they are and blamed for so many problems in our culture. And that message gets reinforced by the Me Too movement. It gets reinforced by feminism. It gets reinforced in the workplace. It gets reinforced in the movies and the shows that we watch on TV. It's everywhere. And I believe that's why good men are faced with the levels of depression and mental health issues and suicide rates that we see today. And that if men were respected for who they are, if we saw the goodness in them and we treated them with kindness, they would be in their natural state of feeling good and confident in who they are. What we see when a good man is depressed is the effect of the emasculation. So men, you have to know, if you cannot make your wife happy, you have to retire. You have to retire from trying to make her happy. And all you have to do is look at the reality of your marriage and your relationship and all the things you've done to try to make your wife happy and how she still finds fault. She still makes you wrong. And she has a perpetual, never-ending list. Once you do one thing, then it's another thing you need to do or stop doing. That she's constantly finding fault and constantly finding more that she needs from you to feel secure and happy in the relationship. That's the result of the empty bucket of our own unhappiness and our own emptiness within ourselves. And the more you try to make her happy, the less respect that she ends up having for you, because she knows that she can make you wrong. She knows she can blame you and keep you on this treadmill of trying to do things to make her happy and never getting anywhere. And it doesn't mean that you mistreat her or you stop being the good man that you are and doing the things you enjoy doing for her, but you do it as an expression of who you are as a good man, not under the delusion and cognitive dissonance that if you do the things she asks or stop doing the things she asks, thinking that will make her happy, that you realize it's not going to work. She's not going to be in a good mood, or if she is, it's going to be temporary, that you're not going to get lucky, or if you do, it'll be a one-off, and she'll go right back to where she was and then looking for more things that she wants you to do. That leads us in to the second fact that men need to know. And again, women, the women that are listening, this is for you to see as well, even though I'm talking directly to the men today. This is something that all of these things are discoveries I had to make within myself to begin to stop the crazy making and the false reality I lived in my marriage, thinking my husband was somehow responsible to make me happy. So the second fact that men need to know is that, and this to me is almost more important than you cannot make your wife happy. Because for some men, they're seeing that. But if you don't get the second piece, you'll still fall in the trap of trying to do things to make her happy. So the second fact men need to know is you are not the source of your wife's unhappiness. You are not the source of your wife's unhappiness. So far today, we've learned that if your wife believes that you need to do things to make her happy, and all the things you've tried to do haven't worked to make her happy, and she blames you for her unhappiness, that means she is unhappy. If all the things you've done to try to make her happy, or all the things you've stopped doing to try to make her happy, and she's still unhappy, that is telling you she is unhappy. Just in herself, independent of the relationship, she is unhappy. If your wife was happy, she would be happy with you. If your wife was happy, she would be happy with you and just how you are and the things that you do. And she would appreciate your style of showing how you care, your style of your thoughtfulness and generosity and being a good husband and a kind, loving partner. Because happy women have happy marriages. When they are happy within themselves, that's the lens that then they see the relationship. So what this means is you can know your wife is unhappy because she is unhappy with you. This is really important. I want this to sink in, which I'm slowing down and repeating this so you can see the simplicity and break out of the brainwashing and the cognitive dissonance of believing that you have somehow made your wife unhappy. You know your wife is unhappy because she is unhappy with you. which means you are not the source of her unhappiness. It is so important to understand that, because it's the brainwashing and the effects of how the process of emasculation works that your wife has convinced you that you are the problem in her unhappiness. And the emasculation works on good men, that you believe she's somehow correct in her gaslighting of you because of all the faults that she finds. And she is so convincing. We're so convincing when we are critical and we constantly point out your faults, that you can say and look, well, I do those things that she's pointing out, so I must be the problem in her unhappiness. You unknowingly fall for that brainwashing. And the more you think that she is right and she must be right in what she's finding fault in you for, the worse you feel as a man. That is the emasculation process. That then leads to you questioning your perception of reality, doubting who you are, doubting your good qualities. And so you have to know she's unhappy no matter what you do, because she continues to find fault. She continues to find the things she thinks you are doing wrong. And then you get sucked in to believing that she is right. And good men will then double down on trying to do the things that you think will make her happy, until eventually you throw your hands up. You give up, because the emasculation and her continual blame on you pushes you to that point to withdraw and emotionally shut down in the relationship. We're going to get to a solution regardless of if your wife changes or not, so stay with me. But what this means and what I'm talking about in the second fact leads us to the third fact that you need to know of why you can't make your wife happy. Your wife was not happy when you met her. Your wife was not happy when you met her. My husband wondered. The comments from men, the men I speak with, are so confused and feel the bait and switch from their wife of, where did she go? Where did the woman that I met go? If I could just even have 10% of her back, I would be so happy. That's how simple and loving men are, that they will just take breadcrumbs. But they're wondering, where'd she go? She used to be fun. She was spontaneous. She was happy. She was fun to be around. And then for some men, it ends on the honeymoon. I can't tell you the amount of men that I've talked to or the comments I have read that first night we were married, it was just like, whew, the woman I knew was gone. And then here was this new woman, rigid, controlling, walled off. Or some women can carry on the facade a little longer. It just depends. But eventually, the facade becomes too tiring and draining for us as women to keep up, and it comes down. And so the reason you can know your wife wasn't happy when you met her, even though she seemed very happy and bubbly and lighthearted and fun, is that for us as women, getting married, meeting a man and getting married is the next thing in our pursuit of happiness. Because we're not taught as humans, we're not taught as women how to cultivate our internal happiness and sense of being content and fulfilled. We default into our human nature looking for happiness outside of us, even though we've all been told and heard 1,000 times that no one and no thing can make us happy, that it's something we have to provide for ourselves. We've never been taught how to do that. So we fall into the default mode of looking for happiness outside of us. So your wife getting married to you was the next checkbox of what she thought would make her happy in life. which is another way to know that she wasn't happy when you met her. And that's why you felt there was a bait and switch. And all of a sudden you see this different woman. We'll create a story where all of a sudden out of nowhere, our past traumas come up and these things that have happened to us in our childhood. And then of course, all the ways we blame you. But the truth is that unhappiness, the selfishness, the walls were all there before. We just had it covered up. And we played the game of being happy and fun and loving. And then our true colors came out. And again, the emasculation made you believe it's your fault that she changed. And it's something you did or stopped doing. That now she's unhappy and cold and distant and withholding. But it's actually the foundation of her unhappiness that was there when you first met. And some men are married to what I call happy pill women. I was a happy pill woman, and it's not an actual pill. It is the facade we wear that we're light, we're easygoing, we see the positive, we're gentle natured, we don't get upset easily. We can be upset and keep a very calm face. And so I'll talk with men that say, I resonate with a lot of what you say in your message, but my wife is she's really kind and very giving to others. She's easygoing. She'll follow my lead, but then they'll have all these other things going on but she does nitpick at me and try to change things about me. We haven't had sex in 6 months, a year or longer, or when we do have sex, it feels like she's doing it as a checklist. She won't let me touch her. She hardly shows physical affection. Men, those are your number one signs that your wife is covert in all the things I talk about, and that she is actually unhappy in herself and doesn't have a healthy relationship with herself. And you can know that if she's withholding sex or disengaged with sex or withholding affection and physical touch. That is your number one sign that everything I am talking about is what you are experiencing in your marriage. So those are the 3 facts men need to know about why you can't actually make your wife happy. Is 1, there is nothing you can do to make your wife happy if she is not happy in herself. Number 2, really, really important. You are not the source of her unhappiness. And number 3, she was unhappy when you met her. And so you might be thinking, well, Karen, what do I do with all of this? Because everything I share, it can be kind of heavy and it can wake men up to the reality of what's really going on with us as women. And you can get stuck and feeling angry or completely crushed, which is very understandable. But the solution in this, and why it's important that both women and men see the truth of our women ways, is that the solution is you have to wake up to the reality of what's really going on, to know, 1, that nothing you can do will make her happy, and 2, you are not the source of her unhappiness. And the purpose of seeing those 2 truths and seeing the reality of being married to a woman is you still maintain being a good man and being who you are as a good man in your marriage. But you can stop believing and get out of the cognitive dissonance, get out of the brainwashing, out of the emasculation, to stop believing what she's telling you will make her happy, so that you don't get sucked into the vortex of believing you are the problem, because that's what we as women make you believe in our own unhappiness. So you don't withdraw or get angry, because that gives her more ammo to build the case against you. And as a good man, when you withdraw and you get angry and you stay in that place, it makes you feel bad about yourself because you're going against the nature of who you are. And it makes you powerless to your wife. So you maintain who you are as a good man for the benefit of yourself, to feel good about yourself and fulfilled and content in yourself, regardless of who your wife is if you are choosing to stay, because many good men choose to stay. And you have to know you didn't marry the wrong woman. You just married a woman. And as I often say, as women, we all have these patterns and behaviors on a spectrum. Some of you have women on the low end of the spectrum, some on the high, most somewhere in the middle. And when you stop and you retire from making her happy and you learn to say no, she may actually begin to respect you. When you learn to say no, again, you maintain being the good man that you are and you do the things that you want to do, that you like to give to the relationship and your wife. But when your wife comes to you and says, you're doing this and it's making me unhappy, or you going and playing golf with your friends, or you going and playing cards with your friends, or you playing video games, or you watching sports, or you not unloading the dishwasher and helping me out with my household responsibilities makes me unhappy. I need you to start doing X, Y, and Z. Learn to say no in a respectful, responsible way, just in who you are. It might sound something like, first, you always want to validate. I understand you feel this way, but I'm not responsible for you feeling this way. And I'm not responsible for your happiness. So the answer is no. I love you very much, but the answer is no. I'm not going to do that because I've done all these other things and it doesn't make you happy. It is your responsibility to make yourself happy. I'm retiring from trying to make you happy. You can actually say that. And then you have to be prepared because she's going to act like a child. She's going to have a full-blown temper tantrum. And then you have to kind of treat her like a child. Okay, figure it out. I'm going to go now. Let her have the temper tantrum. And that temper tantrum is your confirmation that this is her problem, not yours. The reason she's having the temper tantrum, just like children have the temper tantrum, is because you're holding her accountable and you're backing her into a corner that she can't deny. And her only defense is to get emotional. And she will tell you how awful you are, or might, depending on kind of where on the spectrum of these woman ways she is. And the more you stay grounded in knowing who you are and the reasonableness of who you are as a good man and the things you have done to show up in the relationship, how much you want the relationship to work, and have tried to do everything you know to do to make that happen. When you stay grounded in that, in the face of whatever she throws at you, and holding those boundaries and saying no, that's where you regain your strength and confidence in the relationship. And no matter what she does to try to make you believe you're the problem, it doesn't work anymore. And that's how you're in control of your experience in the relationship, knowing you cannot control your wife. The solution for women to stop these behaviors, to stop blaming our husband for our unhappiness, to stop putting the responsibility on them to try to make us happy, has been the journey that I've taken, and that I work with other women and teach other women, which is learning how to be happy, just learning to be emotionally stable within ourselves. It's learning to be in control. It's learning to make choices and decisions that allow us to build our integrity and character, to feel good about who we are, and having a healthy relationship with ourselves to resolve our insecurities and find our confidence. And when we do that for ourselves, ladies, that's where we feel validated, appreciated, loved, wanted, because it's coming from within ourselves. And the good man you married is right there waiting for you. That when you're filling that emptiness within yourself and giving yourself all the things you always wanted your husband or a man to provide to you, and you're married to a good man, it's from that place that then you see all the ways he shows up, all the ways that he is caring, thoughtful, loving, appreciative of you, that you've been blind to in your own unhappiness and your own unhealthy relationship with yourself. And that's the solution for women. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen today. If you haven't, go check me out on YouTube, Rumble, and X. You can find the links in the description below to connect with me there. For those women listening who know you are the problem and want a path forward to take responsibility and change your own inner turmoil and unhappiness, I have a course for women called the Happiness Program, which is the solution to the unhealthy relationship you have with yourself and the issues and challenges you have in your life and your marriage. You can find the link in the description below to apply for a free consultation with me. And for the good men listening who want a solution to take back the power you've unknowingly given away to your wife, I have a course for you too called the Marriage Rescue Course for Good Men Only that teaches you how to rebuild your strength and confidence as a good man so that you can navigate the relationship with your wife in a healthy, constructive way. Again, you can find the link in the description below to apply for a free consultation with me. Thank you again so much for listening, and I look forward to talking with you soon.